Welcome back to the Bitcoin Treasury's digital conference. We like to run on time. In this case, we're 2 minutes early, and I'm excited to welcome to the stage CEO of Professional Capital Management, Anthony Pompliano. Anthony, good morning. Good afternoon here in a few minutes. How are you?
Doing great. How are you, Tim?
Doing well. For those not familiar, because I haven't seen you on CNBC and Fox News every month for years on end, how did all this start for you? You kind of stumbled upon, through conversations, mining Ethereum, and the journey continued from there. Or can you give people a few minutes of a little bit of a background?
Yeah, I was a technology investor, had built and sold some companies, worked at Facebook, and was, I think, passed twice, if you will, in conversation. People had brought up Bitcoin, one time in 2012, one time in 2014. And, probably all the reasons why other people think that it wasn't real, didn't matter, it was kind of stupid. And in 2016, there was a young man named JP Barrick who I had met when he was in high school. He was then a freshman in college, who came to me and basically said, not what I would consider the Bitcoin or crypto story, but more from a power and compute story. And he was like, if you buy these machines and you plug them in, you can convert that power into economic value. And that was pretty interesting to me. And so I bought some GPUs. I had them hosted at a facility. And I think ETH was somewhere in the $6 to $8 range. And, from there, you just kind of start going down the rabbit hole. And although people don't like to admit it, when the price of ETH went from, under $10 to $100 in the beginning of 2017, it really gets your attention. You start to pay attention. And, that kind of led me to do more work, not just on what I was mining and how, mining worked in general, but then also Bitcoin, and eventually came to the conclusion that I thought Bitcoin was going to be very valuable, mainly because of the properties that it brought to the market.
Where are we right now from before the election last year to now? It's like midnight and now it's high noon. I mean, so many things have changed. The ETFs, the new administration. Is it still early? Not mindless or needless price predictions, but where are we right now?
Yeah, look, I think that there is two transitions that are happening. They're related. The first is Bitcoin over the last, really 5 years, but I think in maybe the last 2 years or so has gone from a contrarian trade to a consensus trade. And, the contrarians always kind of thumb their nose at that. But in order to capture economic value, you have to do something that's different than other people, and you have to be right. The being right part is the transition from contrarian trade to consensus trade. So you need that for kind of mass adoption, and you want the world to eventually realize what you realized, just realize it after you realized it, right? And I think that's kind of what we're seeing happen now. The second thing that is playing out in this transition is the capital base is shifting. Now, shifting is kind of a unique way to look at it, because there's a bunch of folks who have held Bitcoin for a long time. They're not going to sell. But what you're going to see is that as the market cap of Bitcoin overall, we're sitting at $2.3 trillion or so today, as that grows to 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 trillion dollars over time, you are going to see the individual holders become a smaller percentage of Bitcoin. That's just the nature of kind of power law distribution of capital in the world. And so as these institutions come in, as these public companies, these ETFs, sovereign wealth funds, all those players, you're going to continue to see capital allocated towards Bitcoin. And so as Bitcoin's price goes up, it actually becomes less risky for those capital bases. Now, the trade-off is, as you get bigger, you should see volatility come down. And we have been watching that play out over the last 5 to 7 years. The beauty is that Bitcoin right now sits in the sweet spot of it is big enough for these large capital pools to allocate to it. It is still volatile enough where it is interesting to them, but it is not too volatile so that they would have a hard time explaining it to their investment committees, their LPs, or other stakeholders. And so I think that right now, we are watching a very interesting adoption of this monetary asset that, if you think just back over the last 50 to 75 years, we haven't seen that often. And so it's pretty breathtaking to watch it play out on a daily basis.
Over the last couple of months, you've had a few announcements that I would love for you to just walk us through. I know you can't talk about a lot of stuff because now we're in the public markets, but you launched a SPAC, you launched a Bitcoin treasury company. Can you kind of walk us through kind of step by step? Because I think sometimes people are just like, I don't know, I saw a bunch of announcements, I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, well, maybe I can set the context, right? I've come to the conclusion that every great investor has the opportunity to come up with one big, good investment idea. And then they essentially spend their entire career trying to express that investment idea as many ways as they possibly can. So if you think of Warren Buffett, he figured out that you could buy things for less than they were worth. Did it over and over again. He was able to create an incredible investing track record for himself. If you think of folks like Carl Icahn and the corporate raiders, they figured out that activism was an investment thesis that worked, and they did it over and over again. If you go and you look at somebody like a Steve Cohen, he's figured out a research-driven kind of multi-strat hedge fund. He's done that over and over again. And so if you were to ask me, although I wouldn't put myself in the category of a great investor, somebody who is constantly trying to figure out how to become better, what is my one big good, investment idea? It is simply that they are never going to stop printing money. I think that is the story of our generation. That is going to be the story of where investment returns kind of flow. And so Bitcoin obviously is a huge part of that story. And I think that Bitcoin will continue to be the most sensitive macro asset to global liquidity and kind of the printing of money. And so, I obviously spent a lot of time and energy with Bitcoin. But I also think that as they print more money, you are going to see a tailwind for most liquid traded assets. And if you think of my career up until the last 12 months or so, it pretty much was in the private markets. I built private companies. I was working at Facebook. Yeah, it was a public company, but really my activities were kind of more similar to like the private building of technology. And then investing. I've invested in over 300 private companies in the last decade or so. And so that private market, doesn't really benefit nearly as much from the currency debasement that comes from money printing as much as the liquid traded assets. And so Bitcoin's been a big winner, but I think that the public market will be a big winner as well. And so what I did over the last, 6 months or so is I announced two different deals. The first one is a dollar-denominated SPAC where I am the sponsor of the SPAC. We raised $250 million. And we're looking to go buy a company that's profitable, that we think that we can help to continue to grow it. We've got somewhat of a focus on financial services, but we've got kind of latitude to find a profitable business that is interesting and will benefit from some of the things we've discussed. The second thing that I did is I raised about $750 million across equity and debt for a Bitcoin treasury company called ProCap Financial will be the go-forward public company. The private company is called ProCap BTC. And the idea there is to merge into a SPAC, so I'm the target in that deal. And that SPAC has about $255 million, so total deal value is just over $1 billion. And the idea is that is a Bitcoin-denominated publicly traded entity. And so we aspire to build a Bitcoin native financial services firm on that end. And so when you look at those two deals, again, it's playing into this kind of macro theme of they're not going to stop printing money. Liquid assets will have this bid. And I think that there's opportunities in a dollar denominated world and in a Bitcoin denominated world. And so we're pursuing those. On a go-forward basis, I will be a board member of whatever company we acquire with the SPAC. I won't really be involved in the day-to-day operations or on the management team. And then I am the CEO and spending a lot of time on what will become ProCap Financial post-transaction. And we've hired a great team, and we think that we've got an opportunity to go build, one of the leading Bitcoin native financial services firms.
At the risk of being too much of a Jeff Park fan, can you talk about Jeff and he's a very well-respected voice in the space, and just anything you want to add about everyone I've ever run across has a lot of respect for him and the work that he's done in the space to date.
Yeah, well, you're talking to the president of the Jeff Park fan club, so you will find no shortage of things to talk about with me on him. Look, if you think about kind of two different themes that converge, right? I think people generally know that being able to hire and work with great people is one of the ingredients that's needed to be able to build a successful company. It's not everything, but it's a very important part of it. And then the second thing is, I hope that I can continue to build a reputation for being able to attract world-class people to work with us. And, one of my maybe biggest accomplishments in this entire thing was when we announced that Jeff Park was joining us to be the chief investment officer, there was somebody who left a comment and they said, Pomp continues to have a monopoly on great talent. And I was like, that is the thing that I would love to continue to be able to hang my hat on moving forward. But the truth is, I was merely able to have a conversation with Jeff over time that explained what I wanted to do and how I thought about it. And the key part of it was, it's a well-capitalized business. It's kind of a blank slate in terms of what we want to go build. And I tend to be somebody who does not want to run kind of a one-man show, right? I want to build something that's more akin to the New York Yankees. I want everyone to be of high-quality talent. I want everyone to be able to, go speak on a podcast or be able to articulate what we're doing. And so, there's not that many people who are attracted to and understand the public markets, who understand Bitcoin, who have the skills and experience that are necessary to build something like this. And so I joke that Jeff Park was my first round draft pick in the Bitcoin Treasury draft. And we're really excited that he's joined us. And I think that, his skills and experience will, just bring something to the table for our business that we were looking for.
Any closing thoughts and a closing question? How do you see everything moving forward? We're all kind of on the same page that we have this digital capital and this digital distribution to the community. You hear a lot of people saying the digital transformation of investor relations, the digital transformation of capital. Where do you see this? Is it just kind of continuing, going from audio calls to video calls with slides, or where do you see it going some other direction or adding to it in some other way over maybe the short to medium term?
Yeah, so I have this one line that I continue to say internally, which is, as we upgrade, we go higher. And I think that that's what we're watching across all of these different functions, right? When you're looking at the public markets, companies are getting much better at figuring out how do we harness the power of retail investors. When you look at Bitcoin, we're getting better at describing it or helping these people understand how it fits into their portfolio. If you look at various other assets, you continue to see kind of this upgrade that's occurring. Sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's in communication, sometimes, frankly, it's as time expires, people start to build confidence and there's an upgrade in terms of sentiment. But those upgrades lead to higher prices over time. And really, it's just more capital pours into it. And so I think that one aspect that I've become very convinced of when it comes to Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is the black hole of finance. Right. And, if you think about our business that we're building in the public market, which will become ProCap Financial, the BRR, Bitcoin rate of return, we think is really important. And that is simply if you denominate your investment portfolio in Bitcoin versus dollars, it changes it. And, some of the numbers there are the S&P 500 is up like 100% since 2020 approximately. Well, if you look at it denominated in Bitcoin, it's down more than 85%. That is a completely different story of whether it was a good idea or a bad idea. It's just what is the denominator. And so I think that this idea of Bitcoin as the hurdle rate is going to continue to proliferate itself kind of moving forward. And if people can understand that and implement that, I think that it'll lead to much better decision making over the long run.
Absolutely. Anthony Pompliano, thanks for your time today. Appreciate you participating.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by StampSeed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026, for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin treasury phenomenon.